Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff, Mosher, and Adam Caplan. Inside the Birds is back, and the Philadelphia Eagles are back in the playoffs. Who would have thought at 2-5, as ugly as it looked, that the Philadelphia Eagles would be in the playoffs? But they are. It happens. They beat Washington 20-16. And then they get the other elements to fall into place, namely the Minnesota Vikings and their Sean Mannion quarterback team laying an egg against the Packers on Sunday Night Football. So that just about clinched it up. Yeah. And Adam, I think this kind of deserves, as much as we can get into the game, which was an ugly one, this kind of deserves a little bit more of a big picture. Let's process this all. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to the playoffs. Back in August, we didn't think this was a playoff team. Back in the end of October, it certainly didn't look like a playoff team. We did acknowledge the lightness of the schedule, but I got to give the Eagles a lot of credit. And, Nick Sirianni, Jonathan Gannon, everybody from top to bottom. Again, are they a great team? No, but the bottom line is they're in the playoffs. I think that for people enjoying this year for what it is, there's a lot to take from that.
This game and the Eagles season is all about resiliency. I mean, it's just really – They're 1-3. They don't look good. The Falcon win was a gift win in week one. Falcons didn't show up mentally. The Eagles took advantage of it and just rode all over them in Atlanta. The Niner game was badly coached by Sirianni. The Cowboys game, they didn't show up. Bad coaching also on defense. Really in the third week against Dallas and terrible against Kansas City. But the quarterback's been resilient. The head coach has been very resilient. The defense coordinator, begrudgingly, I have to say he's been resilient to a certain extent, though the first half on Sunday, you couldn't tell. But 2 straight games of not giving up points in the second half. So, the Giants got a cheap touchdown with Mike Glennon at the end of the game to Evan Ingram and that guy forgot in the second half. But basically, very resilient. Gannon's been still my issues with him, which we'll get into in the show, but this whole team's been about resiliency here. It's just and the players got to give him credit for the buy-in. We know that Fletcher Cox had his issues with his defensive scheme. He didn't hide it. You could tell in his press conferences earlier in the season. But just to move this forward here, they've rebounded nicely to win 7 out of 9. It certainly didn't see that happening.
Right.
You could say all you want about the schedule. It's all true. They've had a very good schedule. But you know what? You got to take advantage of. You got to win. Bad teams lose these games against bad teams. They didn't. They've not. I mean, other than the Niner game, which the Niners have a winning record, they found a way to beat the bad Jets after a terrible start. They didn't play well on a short week against Washington. The Giants game, they found a way to have a horrendous first half. They won. Right. Bad first half defensively, found a way to win. That is really something. The buy-in by the players and the coaching adjustments. This is a new staff here. So overall resiliency by the players and coaches, buy-in by the players, and got to give everybody credit for the finish.
No doubt about it. When they won the 2 games against the Broncos and the Saints and started to turn their season around and then lost to the Giants, which was, we joke about that because I wanted to predict it and I just didn't have the heart to do it. And then, of course, it happened. The Giants won the game. I felt at that point that it was a little bit too much for this team to ask to then go win Jets, Washington football team, Giants, Washington football team, before even we talked about the Cowboys game. I just didn't think that they were going to be able to pull off 4 straight wins. And by and large, they tried hard to show you that they couldn't. I mean, falling behind 10-0 both times against Washington, 3-3 at the half against a really bad Giants team. They caught some breaks, and that's fine. Who cares? Because they're in the playoffs, and they themselves are a team that is not expected to win anything. So you make the most of your breaks, and you win it. So that's where I give them a lot of credit. I wrote even on InsideTheBirds.com that in my piece that, you know what, you don't look at this team and say, yeah, but you look at the team and you say, hey, look what they were able to do given the circumstances and given who they are. And I brought up the Jason Kelce speech that he gave to the team earlier in the week where he kind of related his own life story. He said, hey, look, I was a walk-on at Cincinnati, right? And then I was a 6th-round pick who started it for the Eagles as a rookie. And even despite that, despite being a survivor, They were ready to get rid of me in this town in 2016. They wanted me out. He even said they would have traded me for a refrigerator. It was really funny. And he was right. You know, it really did look, the first year of Doug Peterson looked like the end of Jason Kelsey, but he reinvented himself. And what he wound up imparting on them, and of course he's, you know, tearing up, is that he tells them, the team, that they're so much better than they think they are, and that anybody thinks that they are, and also that they can beat anybody when they play their best. Now I don't take issue with that. I would debate him on the second part of that, but I will say I believe his story is sort of a microcosm, or their season is a microcosm of his story. He is their leader, because they are, as you mentioned, resilient, and they did come from the bottom, and they not only from a internal, like, your record stink standpoint, but obviously it all started with the watering comment, the speech, right? The flower and the watering,
And
the
it was all
grooming,
true.
fertilizing, and that drew a lot of backlash. And they're just, at that point, you couldn't get any lower if you were the Philadelphia Eagles in the city. Your record stunk, your play stunk, your head coach, according to everybody, stunk, and your defensive coordinator stunk. And despite all that, they managed to turn it around and win 5 of 7 games to get themselves a playoff berth. And
7 out of 9.
Cool.
Yeah,
7 out of
actually,
9, right? 7 out of 9.
4 in a row.
It's just kind of crazy how you view things. Like, if this were any other year where there wasn't that extra playoff seed, if this were 2 years ago, nobody would be looking at this as anything special, right? But it doesn't matter, because that is this year. That is the extra playoff spot. And I don't know that it's out of the question that they don't finish with the 6th seed, right? I mean, it depends on.
Sure.
Well, yeah, they certainly still could finish with the 6th seed, which would make it quote unquote legit like the old days if they do. But nonetheless, let's take a quick look at, I guess, there's a lot that's got to happen. Obviously, they're going to play next week. There's even a potential of them maybe playing on Saturday if the league determines.
I mean, it's 6 a.m., right? We'll learn later today. By the way, our show is on the Fanatic tomorrow. Right. We got a 2-hour show because the Sixers-Flyers conflicts tonight. So we'll go over that. But, yeah, you're right. As you told me, and I wasn't even aware of this, that the league may schedule a couple games on Saturday, which sucks. It's just, it doesn't matter. The good thing for the Eagles is, like, if this game mattered, you'd hate to have to be on a short week versus Dallas, who had a terrible loss. I mean, they fought back, but they were really flat, and they lost Michael Gallup to a serious knee injury. It was very sad on a touchdown catch. But yeah. The crazy thing, another part of this whole thing, which you can never, there's no way you could have guessed this. Mm-hmm. I mean, I cannot believe the Eagles' schedule is as good. I mean, the Eagles' record away is as good as it is. For a new staff to be 6-3 on the road, how's that even possible?
That's amazing. It's very hard. And it's not like they played easy road games. They had to play Denver in Denver, which is not always easy. They had to go. What was another road game that they won that I didn't think that they? Well, they went to Carolina and won. It's not that Carolina's great, but it's just hard to win on the road. They almost lost that game.
Yes, they came back late. Hurts is horrendous for 3 quarters, but the resiliency, he brought them back. His mental toughness is huge. So they won at Atlanta, where they smoked them. Got smoked at Dallas. Won at Carolina to go 2-1 on the road. They got smoked at Las Vegas to go 2-2.
Right.
Destroyed Detroit to go 3-2. Great win at Denver to go 4-2. Lost 4-3 at Giants. 5-3 Jets. Yeah, 6-3. You could say all you want about the easy schedule. Mm-hmm. By the way, Denver was good. They were a decent team back then when they played in Week 10.
Right.
It is 6-3. I can't believe it. Yet they're 3-4 at home. This is the craziness of 21. Yeah, so many teams are going to the playoffs, suck at home.
I know it is. Look, that Week 10-11, Broncos, Saints, 30-13, 40-29, that was the turning point to their season. You can talk about, and it's true, the running game that they established in a loss against the Raiders that they carried over to the Lions, but they probably could have beat the Lions even if they were passing a lot. The Lions are bad. But I really think then they go lose to the Chargers. But the way they beat the Broncos, who remember were coming off a very good win against the Cowboys in Dallas, right? And then came home and rolled all over a Saints team that, yes, they were on Trevor Siemian, but they still were bringing in the number 1 rush defense into the link. That, to me, was the turning point of their season where they really started to hit their stride, figure out who they are, and then that helped them kind of come across these stretch of division games, Giants, 2 against Washington, another against the Giants, that you always know are going to be difficult, Adam, no matter how bad they are and no matter how good another team is. It just kind of was like it propelled them into that division slate, knowing who they were and how they were going to win games. And they did. They pretty much stayed true to it, whether they were behind 10-0 or up.
Yes.
They stayed true to the fact that they are a running team. They were going to run, and that's what's gotten to this point. So again, a lot of credit to them. We can debate till the cows come home how good they really are. And obviously this game against Dallas is interesting because if Dallas loses, right, against the Eagles in the finale, I think it would set up, depending on what happens, the potential of a Dallas Eagles rematch in round 1. And I'm not sure Dallas wants any part of that. I have no idea. Maybe they would because they'd be 1-1 against the Eagles and know what they need to do to win. I really don't know. I know people are going to say
I wouldn't want to play him. Yeah,
people are going to say, "Oh, I don't want to play the Eagles. They're the scary team going into the playoffs." I don't believe that for a second. I'm sure that nobody's going to be afraid of the Eagles, but I don't know if Dallas wants to be the one to play them.
Well, if Gallup had not gotten hurt, the Eagles do not match up well at all against them because you could spread the Eagles out. The Eagles are not deep at outside corner. We've said this for like 2 years now. Nothing's changed. The problem with Dallas is, and it's yet another crazy thing, they're not very good at home. I don't understand. They've had some great wins. They had a tough loss, Sunday. When I say they're not good, they're 5-3 at home. But that's not dominant for a team that has been so good this season. But look, they had won 4 in a row, but we'll see what they do. But they don't have a great home field. That's the thing that people have noticed. You've been there, I've been there. As big as it is, it's not the hardest home field. So
that's true.
We'll have to see what happens. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. But just to move this along here as we need to.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a win for them. Didn't look good. It's funny. Jeff and I were doing we did a pregame show with Yvonne and Cosell. Every week we say the same thing. This show cannot be any better than the other shows, but it was. Those guys were brilliant. A lot of the stuff, as usual, comes true in the game. But we did the game watch, and they're down at 9 at halftime. And you'll remember I said this to you. I said they're very lucky to be down by 9 at halftime. They're playing like total crap. Their defense is horrendous in the first half. If they could just get some stops, and that's what they did, and the positive momentum, Hurts started to pick up the pace. He's efficient. We'll get into his game. They stopped bogging down. They as you said, they stay with the run. Which is their bread and butter, and Hurts had that one run, the 22-yarder, which is absolutely scintillating. Holy smokes, what a run that was!
That was a good
but
run.
the defense adjusted, so the resiliency came up, and the mental toughness. Another part of this team is they're mentally tough for a relatively young team with a new staff. I mean, this is the thing. And if someone for the Eagles told me we all knew this, but he goes, listen, he's talking about the media. You guys got to understand, we're going to the playoffs. And we've got 3 first-round picks next year.
Yep.
Now we'll see if Roseman trades them, but if he doesn't, I still, what's going to happen. He's going to trade them. One way or the other, something's going to happen. But if they don't, by a shocking development, and they actually get them right, because we know how great they are on the offensive line. And we'll see about quarterback. Receiver needs help. Safeties need help. Your safeties need help, as you know. They could take this thing to the next level next year, man. This thing is rolling. The thing's rolling.
Absolutely. Really look forward to seeing what happens now moving forward when the quality of competition gets a little bit better. Is this Eagles team really that much change from October? We will find out. Certainly have learned how to win games and do what they need to do, even when falling behind, to make sure that they come out on top. So we'll get into that. We'll, like you mentioned, Tuesday night on the Fanatic, 97.5 The Fanatic. We'll be there 6 to 8 o'clock, full show. So look forward to taking your calls. Make sure you're on InsideTheBirds.com. Andrew DiCecco he went to the game and covered it for us, did his 10 observations, did a great job on that. And, of course, I have a piece as well so that you can check out right now. Look, it's after the holidays, so everybody may have a little extra change in their pocket and get a little money either for Hanukkah or for Christmas or Kwanzaa or whatever you celebrate. You might as well start spending it now on Deal Dash, the online shopping platform that's actually fun. Deal Dash is the longest running penny auction website and app around. some of the things we talk about that you can get on Deal Dash are just simply too good to be true, like a car selling for $900, a brand new TV, less than $2. Brand new TV, less than $2. Great deal. So don't be a loser. Stop paying full retail price for things you want and get on Deal Dash. Go to DealDash.com or download the app. And when you register, use the promo code ITB for a special offer for some bonus free bids. All right, let us get into we'll talk about the offense first against Washington, because it was we said, Adam, that this was going to be a different kind of Eagles game because there's no Miles Sanders, and Jordan Howard was clearly hampered with the shoulder stinger and sprain that he had. He just,
I'm glad you mentioned that. It was obvious.
Yeah, he was not himself. And then, as the result, the Eagles, and this is why I give them some props. I know it was Washington, but the Eagles won a game in which they did not run the ball extraordinarily well. 118 yards, just 3.5 a carry is not very good. But we did mention that Jalen Hurts would have to be a bigger part of the running game, and sure enough, he was, with 44 yards and a big 22-yard carry.
Yeah, now some of them, obviously, the yards per carry is going down because when you have short yardage, that lowers it.
Right.
So, but you're right. The Hurts carry was scintillating. The 22-yarder broke their backs on it. Was that a third down?
I believe it was a third down. Yeah,
it was a huge play. His feet were incredible. He made unblocked defenders miss like that, which is big time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a mistake by Sirianni. Scott, by the way, is unbelievable in goal line situations. I'd have to get the number, but he's really good at converting. Actually, to me, better than Howard in a sense. But I would have given Scott way more. I know he had 14 carries, which is plenty, but Howard was so ineffective first half. He didn't look right. I would have gone. In fact, I would have got Gainwell more involved than his one carry. But all season, they just like using two backs. It's just this is what they believe in, a two-back system.
Right.
That really was the essence of the offense. It was one of these situations with Hurts, like he didn't throw a touchdown pass, but I still felt he was played solid football, winning football. The term I came up with watching it was efficiency. He really was. A passer rating was about 91, which is solid, not spectacular, but he was solid. Made some good throws in the game. I know because I know there were some. I know for a fact, particularly in the first half, he missed some throws that were there, but that's it's just been a story. But also made some really good throws in the game. And another thing that's super important is no turnovers. No turnovers. Cannot tell you how important that is.
I really think that's probably, to me, as we now evaluate him over a full season. I know one game left in playoffs, but I guess maybe 6 or 7 games in, even when they were doing poorly, one of the things we would talk about with Jalen Hurts is that even when he's having his inaccuracy issues or not seeing everything or ball placement, he does not typically put the ball in harm's way. I mean, Taylor Heineke had 14 interceptions, right? I mean, he throws the ball to the opponent all the time, and that's how they lost the game, to be honest. And Jalen doesn't do that, and I think that's a really good building block quality to have as you're trying to groom a quarterback up. The fact that he already does throw the ball and isn't afraid to let it rip, but does not typically put the ball in harm's way or throw wildly inaccurate, and so. I co-sign on that, and I think that's an area where they're, seeing the field can continue to develop. But you at least something with him that if you do have to open it up and throw a little bit more, as they did in this game, he's not going to give the opponent that many opportunities to flip the field on him with a turnover. I agree on that.
Yeah, third down officially was poured for 12. That's
very bad.
I just felt the timing was off on some of those plays. We'll from our sources, personnel tape sources, we'll know exactly what the tape looked like. And as often happens, what we thought watching the game just off of television was going to be different from what the tape shows, and it's no different than coach watching the sidelines. Sirianni's never going to tell the truth of what he really saw. We're not talking about Hurts in particular. We're just talking about everything. Mm-hmm. The tape often does not look like what they saw on the sidelines. That's just the way it is. So we'll see. But offensively, I thought there were some good things. Boston Scott, I thought, did a really nice job on that last touchdown, which almost wasn't a touchdown, was pretty remarkable when Hurts fell.
Right.
And it somehow got to Scott. It's one of those situations you're like, I got to see this again. That was pretty cool. But overall, look, they got the job done. and they got to feel pretty good about it considering the shakiness of the first half.
Yeah, one thing on Nick Sirianni and play calling and decision making that we should talk about, and because he's open about this, he is not a guy who is by the books analytics every single time. He's clearly not Doug Peterson, right? And he's more, and he has said this, he goes by his gut. But this is what's going to wind up hurting him down the road. And I'm not saying he needs to change. I'm just saying this is the natural byproduct of someone who goes by the gut. When it works, it's going to look cool. You go for it on 4th and 1 at the goal line. You get it. You score touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's great. You won the game. You lose games and things like when you went for it on 4th and 1 on your opening possession and didn't get it, right? And I'm not saying that was the wrong decision, but some people would take the points there because you come away with points. I mean, that's a kick your kicker is going to make 9 times out of 10. And you've already said that you're a gut coach, not an analytics coach. Maybe the analytics do say go for it there every time. I don't know. It was at the other team's 24. So a lot of times you will see teams go for it. But in that case, you're down your top running back. I don't know. I'm just saying there are going to be times where his decisions are going to look great because they won the game, and times where the same exact decision in a loss, people are going to criticize him for. But that's what happens when you're more of a gut than a by the book guy. In fact, I think later in the game, he wound up punting on a 4th and 4 that was in Eagles territory. That was like,
the analytics said to go for it. Yeah, there were their analytics guys on Twitter are really good.
Yeah,
I follow, and they immediately they said go for it. That's what the book said. So
yeah, it was 4th and 4 at the Washington 45. That they had an opportunity to keep the offense on the field and go for it. So why would you go for it the first time but punt there? You leave yourself open to all that kind of speculation, and he's going to say the same thing every time. Well, my gut.
Yeah,
well, that's great when you win, but when you lose, people are going to come after your gut decisions.
You can't worry about that. That's irrelevant when you coach. You don't worry about if you start worrying about what the outside thinks, you'll be sitting with them. That's what coaches will tell you. You can't worry about that. I would have done that. I would have gone for it. Mm-hmm. Coaches can never worry about what the public thinks. If they do, they'll get fired. That's just the way it is. If you start worrying about what's in the paper or what knuckleheads like you and I are saying, they're going to get fired. But the fact of the matter is, Sirianni's got to look at the way he does that. And the one that really bothered me, because you and I were together with that, is I don't know what the hell he's trying to ice the kicker on a 55-yarder.
Yeah, that seemed unnecessary.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Inane. Stupid. Why would you do that? I don't get that.
I have no idea. Maybe if it was the game-winning kick at the end of the game, you can add right before the halftime. I mean, come on here. What are we doing?
I don't know what that in the gut feel. And Joey Sly, if you know about him, he's got a huge leg. But the problem is the reason why he keeps getting cut is because he's inaccurate.
Right.
Let the guy kick it.
Yeah. Then you give him a second chance.
Way right. And then the second one he hits. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I also think, though, that I understand what you're saying about you can't worry about public perception, and you're absolutely right about that. But I do think when you're being judged on your job performance, if you're constantly making decisions where you say that's your gut, but then those gut decisions wind up wrong, you get judged on that.
Right, but the owner is the
reason why people go through analytics is because they say, hey, look, you judge the process, not the result. You know what I'm saying? You judge the numbers. The numbers say this is the most best chance for a favorable outcome. That's why I did it. So if it doesn't work, you could say sometimes it doesn't work. Nothing's 100%, but you have a good process there. When everything is your gut, again, then it just becomes you're judged on whether you won or lost the game, and the same decision can look good one day and bad for another. But it's just striking to me, Adam, because they were so analytically driven under Doug Peterson, and that seemed to be an area where Jeff Lurie put a lot of emphasis on. So I don't know if Jeffrey's changed or if he's just allowing his head coach to be his head coach. But, these are things that'll come up down the road. I'm sure we'll wind up.
That's it. On Jeffrey, that's the one that matters. Like you and I have said it. You said it on the Sunday show. It's not what we think. It's what the owner thinks. It's what the general manager thinks. Because that's the guy. Those are the two that the head coach has to answer to. More the owner, because he'll make a decision over the series of years and job performance. And we know at some point, because Doug Peterson went through it, Andy Reid went through it, particularly Doug Peterson, the Monday or Tuesday sheet analytically, okay, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? If it's happening, if it hasn't happened, we know it's going to happen at some point. Right. We'll know over a series of months what's really happened with that. But It's a small gripe. I mean, the guy's done a really good job with time management this year. Certainly not perfect, but pretty good. As Peterson was in 16 of his issues were not time management. Sirianni, he doesn't really waste timeouts, which is really good.
Right.
Though I have a bone to pick with him with going for it, not going for it, and I'm not big on the gut. I understand there's a game feel. I get that. But I do think you need to use the chart, but c'est la vie.
There you go. There's really nothing new on the search for a number 2 wideout. It's just not going to happen. It hasn't happened at this point. But I got to say, Greg Ward over the last few weeks seems to come up with a really important play. Now, this latest one, he caught a 27-yard pass in the third quarter that helped set up, I believe, a touchdown. Yeah. And it was a great pass. And it was on 3rd and 14. And the interesting thing about it is that Jalen Hurts said that he didn't hear Nick Sirianni's play call. And so he just drew something up himself and told Greg Ward. I'm sure the Washington football team secondary is going to feel really good about itself when they read about that one.
That was a hell of a play, and I cannot wait to watch the coaching tape on that one. I just want to see what Hurts saw.
Right.
Because the great thing about all 22 is you could see through his eyes what he's seeing. That's what you can't see it on TV. You can never see it correctly, but that's why you can never judge a quarterback by TV. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna heavily criticize a quarterback from TV over a series of weeks, I mean, you're just guessing. I mean, you really have to. It can't be done. It's not fair. You really have to over time see what the tape looks like, and I cannot wait to see the tape on that one because that was. I mean, just watching on TV, that was just like, oh my god, can I see that again? That was awesome.
Right. So yeah, no, it's good. I have a feeling that Greg Ward we're gonna hear his name a couple of times over the next few weeks until the Eagles are eliminated because he just seems to come up with, and he did this last year too. He seems to come up with some really big plays whenever. I know he's dropped his fair share of touchdowns this year, no doubt about it. But he's also caught some pretty big passes over the last few weeks. So I have a feeling we'll be hearing his name a little bit more going forward.
Maybe.
Go ahead.
No, I said maybe. You might be right. Yeah. I mean, they need a third pass target. Savant was hilarious. I forget. We were doing the player of the game.
Yes.
Who did he take? Did he take
Devontae Smith?
Right. And it goes. They only threw it to 2 guys anyway. So process of elimination.
Well, I made the joke that Avant spins a wheel every week that says Goddard and Smith, and wherever the thing lands, that's who he picks as his player of the game.
Ridiculous.
Pretty much.
Well, this game, okay. The check downs to Scott, which were nice. The catch and run 19-yarder was beautiful. Ward obviously with a major catch, and then unfortunately, Hurts missed Watkins for a big play. We'll see what the tape looked like, see if what exactly happened. But that was in the first half. But the fact of the matter is, they got the job done. They were able to move the ball on offense. Probably left some plays on the field. 20 points. Some weeks won't be enough. It was enough against a sub 500 team. Mm-hmm. But it's funny, you were the center. Boy, you look really good at halftime. People were giving you thumbs up at Rivers at the casino on Sunday. That was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. Although I will say, even though I did pick Washington to win 23-15, and it did look like it was materializing that way by halftime, I did not feel real comfortable, even with the 9-point deficit, that Washington was going to win that game, only because I knew the Eagles will probably have a little bit of a run in them. They've been a second half team for the last 4 weeks anyway. Mm-hmm. And as good as Taylor Heineke was playing, it was very, very dink and dunk. And I knew that if they tightened up on the run, which they did in the second half, there were a couple of first down runs that Washington just didn't get. We'll get into defense in a second. And then that put them behind the sticks. And then you saw sacks come. We'll talk. I had this weird feeling that lead was not going to be extended, but it was going to wind up being a tighter game. And of course it was. Now, that being said, if Heineke actually put that ball at the end of the game on the money to his tight end and doesn't overthrow it, we could be talking. Our conversation right now is a completely different.
I know. And then we would have said, look at all, they had chances, they didn't score, whatever the case may be.
Amazing. That's the NFL for you.
I love Sirianni, calls him Heineke. Yes, but he's right, though, because you alluded to what you were saying. That play in the first quarter, was it? First or second quarter, where he's falling down and made one of the craziest throws off schedule that got completed. And that's what Sirianni was talking about. He He was awesome in the first half. I mean, 14 for 17 for 170. Now, here's the problem. We'll turn to the full defense in the second, but the lack of, I mean, I know the Eagles rarely press, but the lack of tight coverage was absurd. I mean, they as well as Heineke played in the first half, could you press a little bit? Could you give him less room? Jeez.
Listen, we're going to get into that. There was one specific play call, and I'm going to see if you're on it too, that really bothered me, and we'll get to that in a second. I want to finish off the offense talking about the line.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear the injury report this week. Just when the camera panned up close on Landon Dickerson, I don't know if you noticed it. It looked to me like he was grimacing at times. I was wondering if he was playing through something that happened in the game. I know he didn't come out of the game. I know Nate Herbig did.
Yeah.
But and it looked like Nate Herbig was really going to be hurt, but then he wound up going back in.
Shocked that he came back. It was not his knee; it was his left ankle. Right. But man, it looked bad when it got bent back. But kudos to him for coming back for the second half.
Yeah, no, but there were a couple of times I noticed it. And I don't even know why it struck me, but the camera would pan in real tight on the offensive line because they were probably talking about Kelsey or Mailata or something. And I would look at Dickerson, and he was kind of like hurt, kind of like moving around. Like, you know how like when something's bothering you and you're trying to flex it out or stretch it out?
Yeah.
I noticed him doing that a couple of times and then wincing a little bit. Now, look, maybe for linemen, that's what they do throughout the game anyway. You're colliding on every single play. So I don't want to make too much of a deal of it. That's why I said I'm interested in seeing when the injury report does come out to see if there was something that's been bugging him. So, because that's just something I caught out of the corner of my eye. But in general, I thought it was we know this Washington team, if you're going to pick the strength of its defense, it wasn't the secondary. They were missing all these guys. It was their D-line, the Jonathan Allens and the Deron Paynes. And they did struggle to run up the middle. I mean, they seemed to do better when they were trying to hit the edges than up the middle. So I thought the offensive line, did its job for the most part.
Yeah, they hit some outside zone stuff, particularly in the first half. They had some good runs. Hurts, I still just blown away by that 22-yard run. The juke move he made, it was just almost like that Saints one where he did the almost like a Iverson crossover.
Yes.
We left the guy. It's just there's a backbreaking run right there. But look, I felt they should have scored more than 20 points because Hurts made some really good throws.
Mm-hmm.
But the lack of another pass target, because you can't. Goddard does what he can, and he had a very effective game. Also blocked pretty well.
Yeah,
I thought Smith, he had a good game too, but I also thought the lack of the deep ball, considering all that Washington was missing in this game, a corner. They were down 3 corners actually. If you look at their 5 corners that they normally would use.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that they should have scored more, but oh well, they didn't. They found a way to win.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying really just goes back to the third down offense. It just wasn't as efficient as it was. That 22-yarder that you mentioned in the second quarter, it was on third down. It was a 3rd and 8. And then 3 plays later, he got sacked, if you remember, by the rookie linebacker, Jamin Davis.
Jamin Davis, yep.
Jamin Davis for -2. I'm curious on going back to the tape, and we'll have it Wednesday morning on what happened there. Because as you're right, I did feel like he had good protection at times. So we'll have to see
marvelous.
What wasn't going on there. Yeah, it's weird. In the third quarter, he had a nice throw to Dallas Goedert for 13 yards on third down. But then, of course, Lane Johnson had the false start that pushed him from 3rd and 9 to 3rd and 14. Yeah. And that's a tough. The 3rd and 14 is where he hit Greg Ward. So it's very strange. Then they had a 3rd and 2, and Boston Scott only got 1 yard. So interestingly, their 4th down conversion rate was probably better than their 3rd down conversion rate. So they saved themselves a few times by getting those 2 4th and goal touchdowns. But in general, again, offensive line well protected, and it bodes well. So we'll get into the defense.
Pretty much it. Yep.
Yeah.
Defense.
All right. As we tell you all the time, if you want to get an advantage over your sportsbook, download BetQL, the only app you'll need to make smart bets. They got a best bet computer model that scans over 350,000 unique bets a year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and the reason why you should place the bet. Their model covers everything from spreads to over-unders and player prop bets. And if you don't want to use the model, you like to do the research yourself, BetQL has the necessary tools for your research needs. All right. They've got everything from sharp data to line movement, team summaries, lineup and injury breaking news, even a leaderboards to track your success. So head to the App Store or Google Play Store now to download BetQL. can also go to try.betql.co/ITB to get started and just enter the discount code ITB at payment checkout for 25% off their subscription offerings. They've also got a cool sportsbook offers page. If you live in one of the eligible states, you can claim free offers upon signing up at one of the many sportsbooks listed. And of course, I'm sure one of those sportsbooks is DraftKings Sportsbook. If you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, use promo code ITB, you bet $5 on any football team, college or pro, and you can win $200 in free bets if that team wins. That's promo code ITB this week at DraftKings Sportsbook. You got to be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casinos. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Adam, as we transition here, we'll talk about the Eagles defense. And I think the big, we talked about it in the pregame show. They're obviously a much better defense against the run. Now, they didn't have to worry about Antonio Gibson. So a little bit different. But Jared Patterson, he's like kind of like a pinball. He's short. He bounces around. Hard to see him. Yeah.
Yeah, they did a bad job against him at times in this game.
Mm-hmm.
The touchdown run was bad. They barely touched him.
Right.
Overall, the run defense was competitive, but he definitely got them on some plays. There's no question about it. Heineke had a 10-yard scramble. Old friend Wendell Smallwood got in there as the third back. We talked about this in the pregame. He was going to be active for the game.
Right.
But overall, you know what? They here's the thing. They came back in the game. They made Heineke a passer. He started being accurate in the second half. After their defense was awful in the first half. Let's call it like it is. They were bad. This is one of the worst first halves they've had in weeks. They gave up way too much room for the receivers. The pressure was not there for the most part. Got a little bit in the second quarter, and they really started to get after it. Josh Sweat was fantastic. See, I don't go by just sacks because sacks are individual plays. It's about constant pressure.
Mm-hmm.
He got after it. I mean, I want to see we'll get the pressure stats on this one, but he was all over it. He did a very good job. Fletcher Cox was very active in the game. Avery had some really nice splash plays, and obviously had the huge one. But again, resiliency. The first half was bad for the defense. The defense really kicked ass in the second half.
So I thought Josh Sweat was actually the player of the game, Adam, to be honest with you. I think that the game turned after, the Eagles are down 9 at halftime. They come back, they get a touchdown on their first possession to make it down 2. And then Washington gets, I think Sweat was part of a committee of people that stop, Patterson on first down. And then on third down, Sweat sacks Taylor Heineke. And or was that maybe he split that one? I forget, but it was
split. Yeah,
but he got a lot of pressure on that. I mean, he really jumped started it.
He did. He had a couple passes defensed. He was just relentless.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought he was so good in this game, so consistent from pillar to post. I thought he did a great job. T.J. Edwards, after I thought he and Singleton they whiffed on some tackles early in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Second half, they were much better. They adjusted. I just thought Gannon did a much better job. I thought they adjusted. Their coverage was tighter. I can't tell because it was off TV, but I was told they adjusted. But I want to know how they did it. We'll have a true sense from tape study from our sources what exactly they did in terms of coverages. But overall, the adjustments worked. They played with way better discipline because the first half it was like they're down 16-7, and I felt like Washington should have 24 points. They just feel like they could do whatever they wanted in the first half. It felt like it was way worse than 16, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it did. I'm going to give you my favorite Jonathan Gannon call and then my least favorite. All right?
Okay, go.
I really liked, and I thought it was very pivotal. We talked about the third quarter there. The Eagles get a touchdown. Now it's a game, right? At that point, it's what, 16-14, right?
Yeah.
All right. And then both teams trade punts. Like there's a little rockiness going on. And then, the Eagles have to punt the ball. Then Washington gets the ball back. And Jannard Avery on third down comes through with a 13-yard sack.
That's the one.
And, we talked about would Jannard Avery be used as a pass rusher more because we thought Derek Barnett was going to be out. Now, Barnett played, but I don't think he played as much as he normally plays. Maybe he just wasn't in the best shape. I mean, Malvo was out there earlier in the game as well. So using Avery as a pass rusher, his athleticism, I think it came on a stunt that he kind of burst through there and got the sack. I enjoyed that. I thought that was good. I thought that was
nice.
something fresh. And so I applauded Jonathan Gannon. Now, my least favorite play. Can you guess what really riled me up about Gannon's play call?
First or second half?
Second half.
No, I can't remember.
All right.
Go ahead.
It's the final drive of the game. All right. Washington's got the ball. They start off at their own 25. First pass, there's pressure from a four-man front. Milton Williams, actually, I think, tipped the ball. He jumps up. Remember Milton Williams with the short arms and everything, bats the ball at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
All right, so now it's 2nd and 10. Next pass was Taylor Heineke tries to throw it to Smallwood because sweat was breathing down his neck. All right, bam, misses it. Now it's 3rd and 10. All right, there's 2 minutes and 13 seconds left. 3rd and 10. Washington all second half has not been able to do anything. And they play the softest cover 2 zone and let him throw a 10-yard pass to Bates, the tight end. And then, Adam, all of a sudden, you gave him a life. And then they start moving the ball. And next thing you know, they're in Eagles territory. And I'm like, 3rd and 10. Your first 2 passes, he could barely connect. Why didn't you – if you send one guy there, just blitz one guy, right, he's got to get rid of the ball quick. And he may not even have enough time to get the ball to a receiver who's going to be past the sticks. That's what you see a lot of coordinators do. They send that extra pressure on a 3rd and long because the quarterback has to throw it before the receiver can even get to the first down marker. He did the opposite of that. I could believe it because it's Jonathan Gannon, but I was really, really disappointed by that. And to be honest with you, I know like people ripped me last week for saying, hey, why can't you do some different stuff? And people say, but he won. And I say, look at this. And I go, but look, you had to have an interception by Rodney McLeod in the end zone. They were moving the ball. They should have been no business being in Eagles territory there at the end of the game. I'm just saying, like, you opened up the door for that, and it could have bit you in the ass. It's
the way he plays it, man.
Get it, man.
This is the way Gannon coaches. I don't. It's not fair to say coach is scared, but it's like 3rd and 10. You can't give up that play to Bates. You just can't. And I'm shaking my head. I'm like, how does this happen? We'll find out. I want to find out. I want to talk to someone who could give us sort of a background on why you would play the defense the way they played it, because I can't figure it out.
Right.
It should not have happened, and they gave up too much space. And this has been the story of the season when they've given up plays where you go, why did that happen? It's typically because coverage, they're giving up too much room. Now, he'll say it's execution because coaches always, that's the catch-all to never tell the truth. No, it's execution. Right. Well, no kidding. My mom could say that.
Right.
Tell me exactly what happened. And that I'll be interested to see what he says in his press conference this week. But yeah, they found a way to win. The second half, their defense, man, they got after it, man. It was pretty fun to see their energy. And I give them credit because the offense, I know they only scored 7 points. But they really did. Hurts looked good in the first half. He made some good throws. I'm sure they left points. We know they left points on the field. They bogged down a little bit. But the defense picked it up. They were bad in the first half. I would say embarrassingly bad, quite frankly, for the most part. Yeah. But they either felt it. They talked to each other. So let's get our games together. Maybe, who knows what Gannon said at halftime. There were some adjustments made. But kudos to them. They had to help the team win, and they sure as heck did.
All right, 2 guys I want to bring up before we get out of here. Before we do that, we'll tell our friends to check out PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of Philadelphia sports teams because they are for the fan, by the fan. That's their motto. They have great content, great podcasts as well, so make sure you're checking them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. Let's pause real quick for a word from our great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, if you do happen to go out there to Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You'll get a great deal. All right, first, how excited were you to see your buddy, your boy, Corn Elder, make a play out there? I know it's your favorite name.
I know, I've had to mention him. Just because they're so down at corner. Washington, I was like, I'm looking at something. A friend of mine who's in personnel said, because I asked him, I said, hey, how well do you know Washington if you graded them for your advance? He goes, yes, I had them earlier this season. And he goes, yeah, they're probably gonna have to play Cornell Elder this week. I'm like, he's on Washington. He goes, oh yeah, he's been there. That's Ron's guy from Carolina. I said, yeah, that's right. So I remember jotting that down, and I was looking at their the stuff that they sent us Washington to the media. Yep. Like, yeah, Cornell is on there. He may have to play. Sure as heck did.
Now, do we know if Corn is short for Cornelius or Corntholomew? Or
I don't know.
Okay, just
love that name though. Very cool.
If you were named Cornelius Elder, would you just go by Cornelius, or would you chop it off the Corn? What do you think you would do?
I don't know. Cornelius Lucas started a tackle. I don't know for Washington.
I think I would go with Cornelius.
I like Corn. I think that's cool, man.
Yeah, I get Corn Elder.
I don't know, man. Have you ever known anyone by the name of Corn though?
No, I
know. Neither have I.
Not a single person.
Now you're gonna make me look it up.
Corn. There was a wrestling game on what was it, on Atari back in the day?
Cornelius.
There was a wrestler named Kin Corn Karn. Remember him?
Yes. How do you remember that, dude? What is wrong with you? How do you remember
Starman and all those?
Yeah, man. I mean, look, I remember Joe Glass for Donkey Kong, man.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
What was the one? Was that Mike Tyson boxing?
No, that was Mike Tyson's Punch Out, right?
Joe Glass or whatever.
Glass Skin or something. I know. I knew. I can see him too. I just can't remember. I think it was.
Here's the tomato can. You're right, Cornelius. You're right.
Cornelius. Remember Soda Popinski? You would knock him out. He was a big Russian guy. You would knock him out, and
Soda Pop.
Pretend like he was drinking a soda as he's laying on the mat. If you knocked him out, he was one of the better fighters. You had to get through Soda Popinski to get to Mike Tyson.
That's Mike Tyson was for Nintendo.
I think it was Nintendo. Yeah, yeah. And there was one guy who did a funny dance. Remember, you'd knock him out, and he would do a little funny dance before.
Yeah.
Hilarious. That was a great. I would love Mike Tyson's Punch Out or Knockout. That was a great game.
Those are over 40. Yes, you might.
Yeah.
You might.
So anyway, I want the speaking of secondary, we're talking about Corn Elder, but obviously a big game for Maddox and Harris. I thought Harris played really well. We talked about him kind of losing ground, him and McLeod actually losing ground to Marcus Epps, and I don't. This is for the first time in a while. I don't remember hearing Marcus Epps' name very much, but obviously McLeod makes that was a great interception, by the way. Not a good interception, but the catch itself was good because he's sprawling, and then to be able to secure it as he's landing on the ground on his arms, right?
Pretty awesome.
Where you see that ball pop out so much. He's better than any number 2 wide receiver that the Eagles have.
Oh, geez.
I kid. But that was a great catch. That was a really good catch.
That was amazing, and they needed it. No, I do agree. I need to see. I want to see the all-22 on that last pass because I want to see how open Bates was and whether he was the primary. I just want to see how the play developed. The problem with TV is you just can never get the right angle. I want to see the overhead. I want to see the end zone. I don't want to see the sideline. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is just amazing. This is such a resilient win. I didn't think I'll admit it. Geoff asked me at halftime. He goes, "They're down 9. You think they'll come back?" And I said, "No, I don't think they'll do it. I don't think they have it defensively. I think they're struggling. I just got a bad feeling. This is one of the few times where I'd said all season, like most of the times when they were down at halftime, I thought they'd come back because it was the opponent wasn't very good. Jets game, I was never worried about it because I knew Zach Wilson would never keep it up. He didn't. But this game worried me because their defense was really struggling. I mean, this is pretty legit. And Heineke, or as Sirianni called him, Heineke, he was unbelievable the first half. I'm like, come on, this is ridiculous how well this guy's playing. Come on.
He was annoying. He's good at doing that. I mean, he did some things that you're just like, come on.
What are you going to do, right? Right. What are you going to do? Right.
Yeah. All right. I guess I will give my mea culpa because I said I thought the Eagles were a 6 to 8 win team. They've won 9. They could win 10. I think you said 7 to 8 going.
7 to 8 was my win. Yeah, I do win range.
I did feel like they could possibly win only 6. And before the season started. So mea culpa on my part. They got to 9. Congratulations to them, and we'll see if they can get to 10. We will have the film review podcast on Wednesday morning. Again, tomorrow, Tuesday morning, we'll have Tuesday night we'll be on the Fanatic. 6 to 8 p.m. Q&A. We'll be back Thursday, 6 a.m. And I guess we'll have to stay tuned to the schedule to tell you when our pregame show is going to be, just in case the Eagles are playing a day earlier than normal.
Don't be playing
we'll
Saturday.
Find that out.
please no. Like,
You hate the Saturday game.
I
You
know,
are
because
not a
that's
fan
my
of the
one
Saturday.
day to at least get a half a day off. I mean, the only benefit of it is we don't have to work on Sunday. You know, I could just stay home and watch whatever games that mean anything, or watch the Red Zone channel. But I just don't want it to be.
I'm torn. I wouldn't mind getting it over with
Why
a
would you
day
wanna-
earlier and then just kind of having Sunday, like you're saying, to relax.
That's
I mean,
kinda where
we
I
get
am.
very few Sundays to chill.
I know.
So I wouldn't mind that, but then everything has to be done a day in advance, like the script, everything that we do, you know, the Q&A,
Yep.
all this stuff's got to be done.
My Friday gets ruined because exactly Friday night I got to go over the file with you. So,
Right.
But look, it was kudos to Cosell and Avant. They were phenomenal on Sunday. I mean, if you haven't, because I know some folks let us know that they actually watched the replay even though they've seen it live, because they feel like they pick up something that they didn't know. We talked about the flood concept a lot on camera and off camera, which is great. Jason.
Yes.
Jimmy from our production crew had a great point. We're going to look into a telestrator because Jason was showing me the flood concept. He was writing it down, and it was great because I think him and Greg, we want to get them explaining it so everyone, for y'all, could understand it, because every team runs it. The Eagles do it a lot, and they scheme these guys open a lot. And I want everyone to learn, because we're an insider show. We're not just a yelling show. We actually teach the game.
Sure.
And we want to do that. So I will make sure we will give Jason and Greg a little bit more space with that to go deeper in, so we all can understand it better.
Yeah. Remember, Trey had the grease board last year.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe we can
People
get Jason
went out of their minds.
Oh,
out of their minds. They loved it.
He also did it while he was wearing a Santa outfit one week. So that was even more special.
But they felt that they were getting we look, we're a little end of the co. We need to get look, folks, the show's for free. We're not charging anyone, so we need to recoup some money. But as we've done from day one, we put it all in the show.
That's right. Everything
put
goes
it all
to the
back.
show.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks, of course, to our producer, Hunter Brody. You can check out his work on YouTube. His crazy channel is called Sports Talk with Broads. He's got a website, broadsmedia.com as well. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.